Okay, so this is what's going on with it. Let me start it up, and as you can see, the check engine light's on, and also the oil pressure light is lit also. Now, the reason I do have this running, and I'm not concerned about damaging the engine, is because there is no noise underneath it. The customer has been driving it for a couple of days, if not a week already, with that light on. So I have a feeling that the oil pressure switch is going to be the issue, but let's grab our scanner and let's see what the codes are. Okay, it's just as I suspected. It's a P0520 engine oil pressure sensor circuit. Most likely it's going to be a bad oil pressure switch. All right, let's lift this up on a lift, and I'm gonna, you know what? Let's go back to the computer wiring diagram, and we're going to take a look at the diagram on here, and we're going to test the circuit to make sure that the circuit is good before we go any further. Okay, so looking at this diagram here, it's a fairly simple circuit. It's a 3-wire connector on the back of the switch. We're just going to unplug it. We're going to check for a 5-volt reference. We're going to make sure it has a good ground, and this is the signal wire that actually goes up to the to turn that light off for the oil pressure. So it's going to be a little tough to film this, but I'll do the best I can underneath the car. So all right, let's lift it up and let's take a look and see where it's located. Okay, and this is where our oil pressure sender is actually located. Looks like it's down underneath the vehicle. So we're going to have to lift it up. We'll pull that cover down underneath the bottom, and we'll see what that switch looks like. All right, as you can see, looking underneath here, it's a little bit tight where we have to go. Where we need to go is actually right inside, up in the back, right back in there. We're going to need to get in there. So that's where the switch is located, so that's what we're going to do. We're not going to take the filter out. We're actually going to remove the skid plate underneath the bottom right here. We're going to take the skid plate off to gain access to it. So let's do that, and we'll see how much room we get. See how much room we have up underneath here now. Alright, I'll bring you up there so you can see what's going on, get an idea. It's going to be a little bit difficult to film this, but I'll do the best I can. That's the switch right up inside there. So I'm going to unplug that plug right there, and we'll take that out, and I hope you can see what I'm doing, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, we're going to push that little clip to unlock it there, and then we're going to push that little tab right there in, and you just rock it, and you unplug it. And now that we have this unplugged here, we're going to get our voltmeter, and we're going to test for power and ground, and if that checks out okay, then we're going to go ahead and replace that switch up there. I know it's a little dark, but that's where the switch is located, right there. I know that this switch here is no good by looking at it, because as you can see, it's leaking oil inside there. So either way, we're changing that switch. But let me just check this, and then we'll come back. Okay, as you can see, it's a really tight spot up there, but I just want to show this to you. Our voltage is okay. We have 4.99 volts, so we know that we have the power to the switch where we're supposed to. We're going to check the ground now to make sure, but I'm pretty confident we're just going to have a bad switch. So before I go any further testing anything else, we're going to place the order for the switch. Okay, well, I don't know how you're going to be able to see what I'm doing up here, but I'll give it a shot the best I can. We're going to get up here with a socket. We're going to put it onto this sensor right here, and we're going to take this sensor out. Now, I did check that ground, and the ground was good, so we know that the sensor itself is no good. Okay. have it loosened up, then we can just take it out by hand. You want to make sure you have a bucket down below because you may leak a little bit of oil, of course. I'm going to take that out. Okay, and that is our oil switch. So, all right, let me wait for the new one to get here, and when I get it in hand, we'll come right back. Okay, you know how I always tell you match it up to make sure so that there's not a problem when you try to install it? This switch and this switch, this is supposed to be the one that belongs in the vehicle. This one is a single wire switch. This one is a 3-wire switch. So the parts store sent us the wrong one. So now we're on hold until we get the correct one, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, now that we got a new switch and we actually matched it up to make sure it's the right one, we're going to screw it back in up here. Alright, then we're going to tighten it in with our ratchet. Now you're not going to go crazy and tighten it in and break it off because it only is copper. We're just going to snug it in there. Now there was Teflon on the threads, so it doesn't have to be real tight. You just snug it in there. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to plug our harness back in. Lock it in place. Let's bring you in there, maybe you can see a little better. That's where it's located, right up in there. We plugged our plug back in, and let's see over there. Got to plug back in, snap that red tab back on, and now before we do anything, before we put our cover back on, we're going to go up and we're going to start this up. Okay, here we go. Now I just want to point this out to you. We're actually up in the air. I didn't put the car down because I didn't want to lower it down and bring it back up. We just climbed up the ladder and we're up here. All right, here we go. We're going to turn the key on. That's a normal thing for that light to light up. It's going through its test right now to make sure that the circuit is correct. And now we start it. The light should go out and stay out, and it did. All right, you know what? Let's turn the scanner on here for a second. We're gonna go in here and we're gonna clear the codes out. All right, we gotta do this one a little different. The vehicle cannot be running to clear these codes. Okay, that should do it. Let's go back. No codes. Alright, now we're just going to let this run for just a minute here just to make sure, but I wanted to just point out one more thing to you. We're going to go back into the data for the that 520. We're going to go back into the 520. And we're just loading the information in right now. Okay, there we go. All right, now I don't know if I even showed you this before, but the voltage was actually it was very low. It was I'm thinking like 0.4, and the oil pressure was showing 0. and as you can see, our pressure is up in the normal range right now. But that's what the switch itself had failed, because it wasn't sending anything out through that signal wire back to the computer, and that would cause that to happen. So, all right, let's go down back to the bottom and let's wrap this up. Okay, as you can see, we're just checking to make sure that there's no leaks on that switch at all, and it's nice and dry. It's bone dry, nothing's leaking. Our red tab is locked back in place to keep that harness connected in there, and that's it. We're all done. All right, so I'm not going to bore you with putting this cover, I should say that cover, back on. I think you know how to do that. It's 4 screws and it's done.